Shabbat Shalom. This week we are studying Parshat Miketz. It's the second of 3 weeks in a row where we are studying Joseph and his time in Egypt. It's one of my favorite parts of the Torah. I spent almost an entire summer listening exclusively to the Donny Osmond, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat soundtrack. Love that show. And over time, I've read this portion, I've studied this portion, but as an executive director of a synagogue, this story has a special meaning to me. And I'll explain in a few moments. I think we all know the story, right? Joseph is in prison. Pharaoh has these nightmares. He can't figure out what they are. The first one is about 7 healthy cows that are almost immediately eaten by 7 skinny and diseased cows. Then he has another one about 7 corns of stalk that are healthy and beautiful and look delicious, that are almost immediately eaten by 7 stalks that are diseased and skinny. I've never really understood the physics of that, but regardless, Pharaoh is freaked out, can't figure out what this means, and no one can tell him. But then someone says, hey, listen, there's someone in prison who seems to be able to understand dreams and can interpret them. So they bring Joseph up, they clean him up, they make him presentable, and Pharaoh demands that Joseph tell him what these mean. And Joseph he's smart. He says, listen, I don't know what these means, but God will interpret these dreams, and I will be able to help you through that process. And so Joseph listens, and then he says, this is actually not all that difficult. Your dreams are telling you that for the next 7 years, we are going to have an abundance of food. Everything we want to eat, we're going to be able to eat. It's just going to be there. But 7 years later, and for 7 years following, we're going to have a pretty rough time. Our crops won't grow, our livestock will die, and we're really going to struggle. And it's at this time that Joseph pulls on his executive director hat and starts to see the whole field. And he gives Pharaoh amazing advice. For the next 7 years, as we are eating, as we are celebrating our abundance of food, we also have to be planning. We need to make sure that the 7 years following that we can survive, that we are able to thrive. And so we need to store enough food, enough grain for the following 7 years. And that's what they do. 7 years of great joy, of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. But the Egyptians, because of Joseph's plan and Pharaoh listening, are able to deal with this issue. I love that piece. It's also what brings Joseph back to his family, because the countries surrounding Egypt, the people surrounding Egypt, they didn't plan like the Egyptians did. They didn't have Joseph there to help them out. And so they come running to Egypt to see if Egypt will share with them. Joseph's brothers, who had abandoned him and had assumed he was dead, come to Joseph because he's in charge. I love this part of the story. I'm excited to read about it next week to see the conclusion of Joseph and his brothers. But Parshat Miketz for me as an executive director of a synagogue is all about preparation. It's all about thinking through what's next, because tomorrow is never going to be exactly like today. Our good fortunes today don't always last, and you need to be planful for that. We need to think about what's next in our family, in our work, with our own self. We need to always be thinking about what's next, and we need to be strategic about it. Joseph did that. He did what I hope good executive directors do as we plan for the future, for our synagogues, for our lives. I hope that this Shabbat you take some time to think about what's next for you. Be planful, be strategic, and know that we can get through anything if we are prepared and thoughtful. Wishing you a wonderful end of Hanukkah, a peaceful Shabbat, and I'll see you soon.